history. So, for example, was Pontius Pilate the governor of Judea? Or we saw that first century. He doesn't. The reason why he doesn't believe in the historicity of the crucifixion is based on a book 600 years after, where a man who was possessed by the demon, which is what I believe, told him this.
Was it necessary to bring this caveat, a man who's possessed by the demon? What emotional response are you trying to entice? This is not a civilized behavior. If you want to discuss crucifixion, don't bring, oh, he was possessed by whatever. Shame on you. Now, to answer your points, I asked contemporary evidence. So you are saying Corinthians, and you are suggesting to me Corinthians was written by Paul, if I'm not mistaken. And Paul didn't actually witness it himself, so he wasn't a contemporary first-hand witness. He got it from Peter and James. Sorry, that doesn't count as contemporary first-hand.
So you don't accept the testimony of Jesus.
You're not listening.
I have not
finished. I have not finished.
Let him finish and then you say. Otherwise we're not going to get...
You have no first-hand witness of anyone saying, I saw it and they've written it. You have Paul saying, oh, I got it from X, Y, Z. They have witnessed the crucifixion. That, to me, is not a direct evidence, right? This is a crucial matter because your whole religion, correct me if I'm not mistaken, your whole religion revolves around the death and crucifixion of Christ. That means the standard of evidence needs to be very, very high. What you're bringing, instead of saying, this is the writing of Peter, who witnessed crucifixion, this is the writing of James, who witnessed crucifixion, you're giving me Paul, who didn't even meet Jesus in his lifetime. He's a self-appointed, self-declared individual who says, I have received revelation from Christ. We don't consider people who haven't even seen Christ, and someone says, I know everything Christ said. Christ gave me all these things to me. So what you have is not a first-hand evidence. You have second, third evidence. Do you have anything first-hand to provide? I'm offering you again the chance to an opportunity. Okay. Anything first-hand.
Okay. I quoted an oral creed that was passed on from the disciples of Jesus, then which the Apostle Paul recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, which is accepted by the majority of biblical scholars. These two disciples, which the oral creed comes from, buried Jesus' dead body. What kind of evidence do you want? Give me contemporary evidence of Muhammad splitting the moon. Okay. Same. So give me contemporary evidence.
Yeah, but that's another issue.
So now we are debating crucifixion.
If you apply that
now,
criteria to the life of
excuse me, we're not debating. Okay, see you later. See you later. See you later, paper.
You're not heckling. We're not talking about the Prophet now.
Thank you very much. Now, so now as you've realised, he's saying...
What did he say?
He's saying this was an oral creed transmitted to Paul. That's the summary.
From eyewitnesses.
Right? Thank you.
From eyewitnesses.
Yes. Crucifixion. Welcome salam, brother. So,
from eyewitnesses.
Yeah. So my point is, crucifixion is a very well-attested historical rumor. That's my stance. I don't have a problem being well-attested rumor, but it's not the reality. What you are saying, you have evidence for it. So where is the contemporary first-hand evidence? Instead you're saying it's a oral creed passed on. Now, when you have an oral creed passing on, we're talking about transmission. When something is transmitted from one individual to the other, you need to connect that they met each other, for example, they've heard each other from, and also the person that is being transmitted to. Peter transmits to Paul. Is Paul trustworthy? Did he have a good memory? Was he honest? Was he a man of integrity? These needs to be established, first of all, because Paul is hearing from them through oral transmission. Yeah? Okay. My 4 questions.
Stick to one question. Stick to one.
One question, which is for part A, B, and C. One question.
Okay.
Paul's integrity, right? Was Paul one with a good memory, so he recollects exactly what was told to him, transmitted to him? Was he an honest individual? Did he ever lie? Did he never lie or deceive? Okay, and was he man of a good character? Before you say, I take Paul's testimony, we need to test him, whether he's reliable and trustworthy. So provide all this evidence before you move on to the next stage.
Yes.
So,
Nothing to do with the Quran now. Only stick to the question.
So Galatians chapter 1 verse 18. Paul says that he went and stayed with Cephas And the word there he uses is historisterai, which means to be acquainted with knowledge. It is a historical fact which all biblical scholars affirm that the disciples of Jesus literally, which your Quran, by the way, calls Muslims, I don't know how, literally believed in Jesus' crucifixion. So we have the testimony of the disciples of Jesus. We also have Mark's Gospel. Mark's Gospel is the memoirs of the Apostle Peter, who recited, and then his amanuensis Peter wrote this down.
No problem.
So Peter, the Gospel of Mark, which comes from Jesus' disciple Peter, talks about the crucifixion of Jesus. Let me ask you a question. Can you provide any historical evidence that Jesus was not crucified?
Yes, the question
Yes,
is asked.
I will provide.
Can I ask you a question before all this happened? Because I was done, you
Yeah, but let me-
interrupted.
Yeah,
but now,
Right.
Ijaz, I'm debating.
No. Ijaz, look.
That's the question. now.
Listen.
So you tell him.
I am going to. No.
Tell him.
You can debate. Look, you can discuss with Ijaz. We can discuss with Ijaz. I would be happy for you to discuss with Ijaz. But the one question I asked, enough of the introduction. I'm giving you a chance again. Can you answer the question that I asked? Then we move on.
I just have.
What's the
I gave you the contemporary evidence of
what
the
is the question that I asked? Can you remind him about Paul?
Basically, the reliability of Paul.
The reliability of Paul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the reliability of
That
Paul.
he has a good memory. He was an honest man, never lies, never deceives. He's a good character and man of integrity.
If we're going to take Paul seriously,
Yes, thank you.
We don't need a running commentary.
I think we do.
you do.
It helps.
It helps.
Okay, we have excellent church tradition that the Apostle Paul and the Apostle Peter died as brothers in arms in Rome. And so Peter accepted Paul as a legitimate disciple of Jesus. So Peter, who was a disciple of Jesus, accepted Paul as a man of good honor, as a man of good integrity. Why should we doubt him? And if we're paying to the same standards, the main narrator in your Quran, the Hafs Quran, is a guy called Hafs bin Sulaiman. According to your own Islamic scholars, Hafs bin Sulaiman was a liar and a thief who fabricated things against the Messenger of Allah.
I have to stop you there.
And Muhammad
I have to stop you
himself,
there.
the Prophet of Allah, also fabricated things against Allah by saying about the three goddesses.
What's your name, by the way?
Ruslan.
Ruslan. Sorry to stop you there. I
I'm
asked
just
you.
holding you to your own standard.
No. Look, it's not about
Hold
standards.
your
First of all,
standard.
when you talk about like compare to Islamic traditions and histories, without having knowledge of these, obviously, clearly, you just heard something from someone.
No, you're Islamic
listen,
scholars.
you're regurgitating out. I am simply asking you to stick to the topic, which obviously, clearly, you aren't. Every opportunity that you're responding,
I'm just applying.
excuse me, Ruslan, you're all the same. Speaker's corner, you're all the same. You have to somehow insult the Prophet, insult Islam, and mockery, and so on and so forth. Now that's become your
So one
trademark.
of your caliphs insulted the gods of
Ruslan,
the
I'm
pagans.
talking.
What's wrong with that?
Ruslan, I'm talking. So it's become your trademark here, right? Your trademark. So maybe that's how you will be known in the future. This is how Christians are in their behavior. You know, the only thing that you need to change is this, the approach that you're using. So I asked you about Paul's integrity, then I'm going to give over to Ijaz, because Ijaz nodded his head when you said,
But I was talking to
listen. Speak to people of knowledge. Hang on. You can ask him as many questions.
You're very intelligent.
I'm talking about knowledge. I'm not talking about intelligence. Don't you realize?
Are you not knowledgeable, man?
Excuse me. I'm saying on this topic, I am saying speak to someone who knows. But the question I asked you about Paul's reliability, you're saying they died together with each other, Peter and Paul, or something like this. No, I said, do you have anything to corroborate, testify that he was a man possessor of good memory? Obviously, you haven't got anything given me so far yet. I've asked this question so many times. Good memory. Not being dishonest, always being honest and of good character and integrity. You haven't given me anything. Because we know the contrary. When Paul says, to a Jew I'm a Jew, to a Gentile I'm a Gentile. Hang on. Let me speak.
Paul said we do not use deceptive.
Excuse me.
That's what Paul said.
Context.
Look, when he says to a Jew I'm a Jew, to a low person who is abiding in a low person, and so on and so forth, it's very clear what it means. You will twist it away from its rightful context. So, where is your character witness for Paul? Once you answer that, I am happily handing over to Ijaz, who's knowledgeable in the subject, and you can discuss, because he said he doesn't agree with you what you just
I was
said.
initially talking with you,
but
now you're
absolutely
handing it
not.
over.
Initially wanted to
And
talk
I don't
to...
want to debate with you with all due respect for my own reasons, and I'll tell you why if the audience wants to hear.
You can say it all twice as well, but I know this topic very well, and what you said was incorrect, absolutely.
But the thing is, you say it's incorrect, but for example,
I'll give you a
he made a video.
Why do you say it's incorrect? Should we let Law? Why do you say it's
He made
incorrect?
a video that was published on his channel, Dawah, called something, The Textual Transmission of the New Testament, or something like that, part 1. And this video was analysed by a Christian apologist by the name of Keith Thompson.
Is that true?
Ijaz Ahmad, in that talk, said, and I quote, he was trying to discredit Petrine authorship of the epistles. And he said, we have a New Testament scholar called Professor Marcus Bockmuir, who is a conservative scholar, and he used those words as if this is a guy who's a conservative scholar, not a liberal scholar, and comes to the conclusions that the 2 epistles weren't written by Peter. Keith Thompson actually emailed Professor Marcus Bockmuir and asked him, have you ever identified as a conservative scholar? He says, no, I was never identified as a conservative. So with all due respect, and this is just one out of a plethora of lies which you used in that, so that's why I don't feel comfortable with you, because one second, I know you're very knowledgeable, but the problem with your knowledge, you can twist things, and I've only been studying this for a limited amount of time.
You need to defend your honor now.
Hold on, let me defend my honor here. Subhanallah, he says he will not debate me because I'm a liar, and I'm a liar because I described a man as conservative and he wasn't. If that's the greatest lie he can give, then I'm a saint.
It's still a lie.
It's a
It's still a lie.
mistake I
Can't you
made.
give him more
Hold on.
substantive?
So, give me something more substantive.
But your argument is Paul wasn't untrustworthy, so if you've been proven to be untrustworthy, he has
How
the
am I?
right to then not
Yeah,
engage
but-
with your comments.
Yeah, but that's just one small
No,
thing.
it doesn't matter how small it
Hold on.
is. He wouldn't be.
He was making a point. We have
If you have hadith,
So let me speak. So hold on. I can answer that accusation very easily. Wallahi, I got that book recommendation from a New Testament scholar who is a conservative from the New Orleans
I
Baptist.
don't even
Shut up, I'm
believe
speaking.
you. Let him speak. Shut up.
Yes,
Let him
be
speak
quiet.
then,
Be quiet.
because look at
Don't
your face,
interrupt me.
you know, just
Don't
look at your
interrupt
face.
me.
Can
It's
show
very
some
simple.
camera in his face.
He's calling me a liar, so let me
You are a
correct
liar.
you. Let me correct you. So I got it from a scholar, New Testament scholar, published by Brill on the New Testament from the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. He recommended that book to me,
And he
and
said
this.
he's a
Let me finish.
Let him finish.
Let me, dude, come on, right? And in that message he sent to me, he described Marcus Bockmuir as a conservative scholar, and he himself was a conservative scholar. So I trusted a Christian, and I was wrong. I will not make that mistake again. Now you said you
What are
don't.
the other things?
Right, so what are the other? Hold on, no.
You said
Hold
that's
on,
Something more substantive.
hold on. I'll make this easy for you. You just made claims about the New Testament, its transmission, about Mark, Matthew, Peter, Paul. Sir, I call you a liar for what you have said, because I could prove you wrong publicly with evidence in front of you. So are you here to defend what you've just said, or are you a coward and you will run? It's very simple. I put the proposition to you.
I'll defend what I said.
Let's defend it. Make your claim again. Make it again.
I've already
No, make it point by point. Make it
Can you
point
make
by
it a bit
point.
bigger so we all listen? It's quite enjoyable talk,
like a
hopefully.
circle.
Yeah. I'm sure it will be much.
Secular friendship. Let's all hug and kiss. Right.
Cartoon's gone.
Oh.
You're safe now.